What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Unhinged Talk. As usual, I'm your host, Patrick Hennessy, joined today by the man, the myth, the legend, Brian DeGennaro. How are we doing today, Brian?
I'm fantastic, Pat. How are you?
Listen, I can't complain. It's been a while since we did one of these.
It
If I'm being
has.
honest, we kind of abandoned them. You guys know I hate pre-recorded videos. It's like my least favorite thing to do. But I'm like, you know what? Let's give it a shot again. Let's test the waters. It's lockout season. We have nothing better to do, so why not? Brian, you know what the topic is for today?
You tell me, Pat.
It is Carlos friggin' Correa, probably the most
Wow.
controversial guy in Major League Baseball right now. And, of course, he's a free agent, and I'm kind of looking at him. Brian, we have a little bit of a different opinion as far as this goes.
A little bit.
I view him as the perfect fit for the Yankees shortstop opening, especially kind of looking at the other free agent shortstops out there and how the Yankees have a glaring hole at shortstop right now as far as the fan base sees. I think that Carlos Correa is the perfect fit. Now, I'll kind of explain why I think he's a perfect fit, and then you could kind of go into what you think about Carlos Correa.
Sure.
But I look at Carlos Correa as a villain, right? And I think that that's something that the Yankees are severely lacking right now. I look at the New York Yankees, and growing up, they were always the villains, right? I looked at the New York Yankees, and we had Alex Rodriguez and Roger Clemens. And
Clemens is a big one.
I mean, Jeter, but Jeter wasn't really a villain. But you know what I mean? The Yankees were a hated franchise. And now I feel like over the past few years with the whole baby bombers era and whatnot, the Yankees aren't as hateable as they used to be. And maybe this is just the inner psychopath in me. I want to be the most hated organization in baseball again. And who's the better guy to make that happen than Carlos Correa, right? So it's not only like the villain persona that he would bring to the clubhouse, but I think it's also just the raw talent. I mean, Brian, we're talking about the Platinum Glove winner in 2021. Platinum Glove. Unreal. We know what he could do with his bat. He's killed us just about every single postseason we play the Astros. He's just an overall very consistent talent. Now, the only knock that I guess people could really give Carlos Correa would probably be his injury history. He hasn't really played full seasons in the past few years. I think someone said, I could be wrong about this. I think someone said Aaron Judge has played more games over the past few years than Carlos Correa, which it's very possible that it's true because the Aaron Judge injury narrative is super overblown as well. But I think overall, I look at Carlos Correa, I see a villain with a ridiculous amount of talent that I think would be the perfect fit to be the Yankee shortstop for, I would say, the next 10 years to come. Brian, what do you think?
I get that. And before I get into what I'm going to say, I just want to start this off by saying if we sign Carlos Correa, I'm not going to be upset about it, okay? I want to make that very clear before everyone jumps down my throat. It's not that I don't want him, okay? He's a great player, and if we sign a great player, I'm not going to be upset about it. But I think it's a little bit risky, right? Because if you sign him, you're signing him to probably a $350 million, 10-year plus deal.
Yeah, I would say so.
That's locking up a ton of money. We've seen that Hal is very, very reluctant to spend any money and to outspend mistakes, especially, right? You got some guys coming, well, really mostly just Judge at this point that you're going to have to pay. And I don't know, it's just kind of risky because I'm kind of looking at it as if they sign Correa, do they end up signing Judge? I mean, are they able to do both? Is that even possible the way that Hal runs this team?
I mean, dude, if I'm being honest, it's a fair question to ask, with the current state of the New York Yankees, right?
It seems ridiculous, right? It seems ridiculous.
It does. That's why when I kind of view it, I'm like, yo, it's ludicrous to think that the Yankees can't have both Carlos Correa and Aaron Judge. It's sad that we kind of have to think that way, but we do have to think that way, right? So I think that's a solid point that you make.
Right, and the other thing, I mean, not to be the guy that's like, oh, we've got prospects, right? So many prospects, but the team, the franchise is very high on Anthony Volpe, right? We've seen what this kid can do. He's got a lot of potential, and I'd love to see him succeed. And if you lock up Carlos Correa for 10 years, you're never going to see Volpe in pinstripes, right? That almost guarantees that you're going to ship him out somewhere, right?
Well, you unless you can third base.
I guess you could move him to third base, sure. But I think that makes it a little bit more likely that we ship him out, which would be fine too. But I think I'm kind of looking at it as a standpoint, and Pat, don't hate me for this, but I'm kind of over this core. I'm kind of at the point where I think this core has run its course, and I don't...
Well, thanks for stopping by.
No, but seriously, I think this core has kind of run its course. I don't think that they're really capable of winning sustained championships the way that they were built to win, right? We've got so many guys that have regressed, so many guys that we needed to rely on that have gotten worse over the years. Guys like Gary Sanchez, guys like Gleyber Torres, guys that are just disappointing. And when you have that many guys that are like that, I think you almost have to sort of retool, not necessarily rebuild, but retool and maybe look towards the next core. And we do have guys like Volpe and Dominguez in the minor leagues, some other guys that are coming up, and it might be time to start thinking about building around them. It's just an idea. Don't kill me for it, but
I'm not.
it's
No,
where
don't
I'm
worry.
at right now.
You're okay, Brian. No finger guns in your direction. But what I'm saying is, I guess I'm kind of on the opposite side of the spectrum because I'm kind of like looking at this Yankees team right now, and I want to still win now with this core. And it's kind of sad because I'm looking at the 2022 season whenever it does start. Hopefully it starts on time with the lockout. But I view it as kind of like the last dance for this core. Because I'm pretty sure at the end of the season, Judge is a free agent. I don't necessarily see him going anywhere, but I mean, hopefully they extend him. I believe Gary's a free agent as well.
Yeah, he's gone.
And then I don't know. I just think that the time with this core is kind of winding down. But I don't think that's not to say that the Yankees can't have another core very soon as well. Because like you said, they have a bunch of young talent coming up. And I think that they could take a lot of pieces from this core and kind of use them for the next core as well. Like an Aaron Judge.
Absolutely.
Correa could be a part of the next core. Stanton's going to be a part of the next core. So I don't think necessarily signing Correa would prevent you from having another core.
Yeah, the only thing is if you sign Correa, then you have basically three guys that are $300 million players, right? You got Stanton, who's almost there, right? Cole and Correa, and then you got Judge coming up that's going to get a huge contract, of course. So you got four guys with huge
You're the
contracts.
Yankees, Brian.
I understand that, but Hal doesn't run the Yankees the way George did, okay?
I know. It's sad.
But the other thing that you got to think of is this team of Carlos Correa away from a championship? I mean, they had so many holes last year. And if you sign Carlos Correa, can you honestly tell me that they're going to sign other people to fill those holes? Do you honestly think they're going to go and sign a first baseman if they sign Correa? They're done. If they sign Correa, that's it. Because it's like, oh, that'll sell tickets, right? People want to come and see Correa. They don't care about winning. So, like,
you make a good point, though. You make a really good point because I've said the same thing as well. The Yankees aren't a Carlos Correa away from a championship. We agree on that. But I do think that Correa is a great first piece to the puzzle. Now, I'd be scared if they signed Correa and they did nothing else because I really want Correa and Olsen and then maybe a Rodon. But it's I guess only time will tell to see what the Yankees will do after the lockout. We'll talk about it all throughout the offseason here. But I guess that kind of leads me into like my next question that we could discuss. And obviously we don't really know the true answer, but do we think that the Yankees truly want Carlos Correa? Because I feel like obviously we've seen them linked to him a few times over this offseason so far, but are they just doing like their due diligence, or do we think that they will truly hand Carlos Correa a $350 million contract? Personally, Brian, like I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think that they will. Now, do I want them to? Yes, but I don't see it happening. I think maybe because I'm just a little bit scarred from like how this offseason has gone so far. I just mentally can't picture the Yankees handing out a massive contract like that.
Well, I mean, if you look at the past few off seasons, right, the only really big contract they've signed was the Garrett Cole contract, right? And that entire offseason, there were so many rumors about Cole to the Yankees, Cole to the Yankees. That was basically the only rumor, right?
And they did it quick.
He was barely rumored to go to anyone else, right? It was 100% the Yankees 100% of the time. It hasn't really been that way with Correa. Right? There have been some rumblings, but it hasn't been like the Yankees are in on Correa. The Yankees want Correa. He's their guy, right? It hasn't been that way. So I just feel like for a guy that's going to demand the kind of contract that he's going to get, I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I mean, but that's why it's so difficult because we don't really know what's going on within the Yankees organization, right? We've heard them say so many times that they want to improve the shortstop position.
Yeah.
But I think that's why we kind of just have to examine, like, who else could that be? Because now Semion's off the board. Seager's off the board. So now you kind of look at the shortstops that are available on the free agent market. You look at Correa, Story, Simmons. Now, obviously, these are guys that we could discuss deeper in a later episode. But I think looking at the competition, especially internally, because if the Yankees want to, they could go internally at shortstop to start the season. They could just have Gio be their starting shortstop and have DJ at third, Gleyber at second if they really wanted to. But I kind of view it as Carlos Correa is levels above anyone else that the Yankees could throw out there at shortstop on opening day. Now, obviously, I don't hate the idea of a guy like Trevor Story on a much shorter deal for cheaper, but I still think that Carlos Correa is obviously much better than Trevor Story.
Yeah, absolutely. But
And obviously, he blows like Andrelton Simmons out of the water.
And that's the guy they're going to end up with 100%.
Probably, yeah.
Right? But I actually kind of like the idea of Story. I mean, like you said, he would be on a shorter contract, less money. It's not not as huge of a commitment. And if it goes wrong, whatever, it'll be over in a couple of years. But you still have that opportunity for Volpe or Peraza to come up and be the guy, right? So I don't know. Like I said, I'm not all in on this core anymore. I think this team. I don't.
Well,
I think this team has too many holes right now, and
listen. I know you're not necessarily like in on this
Pat.
current core. You're not in on this current core, right? You kind of lost hope. But are you in on the next core, Correa?
It was so nice seeing you guys once again. Thank you for joining us.
On that
comment,
note, Brian.
like, subscribe, turn on post notifications.
Anything else you want to mention about Carlos Correa before we wrap things up? Because I think my final thoughts are just like, obviously, he's going to demand a lot of money, a lot of years. Going to break the Yankees' payroll a little bit. But I think at the end of the day, I would be ecstatic to have a guy like him in the Bronx. I know the past is the past. Oh, he's a cheater. A little bit of an outspoken dude, one of the most hated players in the game, I guess, for good reason. But if he's our little, like, reckless dude, I'm here for it, bro. I want the Yankees to be a villain. I've mentioned it so many times. Bring us that villain presence. Bring us that anti-captain. Do it, Hal. Make it happen. Brian, what are your final thoughts here?
Like I said, I wouldn't be upset if they signed him. That'd be great. It's just I wouldn't be excited about it the way that I was excited about Cole, right? Because Cole was the guy. Cole was the guy that we wanted all along. And Correa just isn't it for me. And like I said, fantastic player. One of the best in the league. And I would not be upset if the Yankees got him. Like, really, it wouldn't be a bad thing.
I like that. I'm
just not all in on him.
There's a lot of people who are like, "Oh, I don't want Correa on my team under any circumstances." And
I'm not like that. I'm not like
that.
that
A little bit,
but I'm in the middle. I could go either way, really, honestly. But that's the thing. When it's a $350 million player, I don't want to be in the middle. I want to be all in, and I'm just not. So that's where I'm at.
Listen, to each his own, Brian. We have differing opinions, and that's okay. But with that being said, that's gonna wrap things up for today's episode of Unhinged Talk. Feels good to be back. Feels good to be back with the recorded videos.
It does.
I can't say chat. How's everyone doing tonight? But yo, leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think about Carlos Correa, whether or not you want him in the Bronx. Make it happen. Listen, I don't know if it will happen. I just want the Yankees to win, and I don't think it's too much to ask for. But yo, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications for more. I'm going live just about every single day during this lockout. So, dude, we're going to have some fun on the live streams. We'll have these pre-recorded videos coming a lot more often because, like I mentioned, I kind of like them now. I don't know. But yo, you guys know the deal. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay safe. Peace.